Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shemer Kakwadash. And I want to say Shalom, Gog Menachwath out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's a little quick hit, and I wanted to do an etymology deep dive again. I know I did one once before, but you know, the word countenance came to mind because of the scripture Ecclesiastes 19 and 29, and I said, you know, let's go and look into etymology, right? And because there's a couple scriptures, there's quite a few actually. If you look up Countenance within the KJV, if you look that up, there'll be quite a few scriptures, and there's a couple different meanings for it, depending on the scripture. And that's why it's always good to get the understanding and get the definition, get the Greek and the Hebrew, you know, especially, you know, using the Blue Letter Bible. But right here I got Countenance up. We'll play it.
Countenance.
Right, Countenance. Now, in short, all right, it says a person's face or facial expression. Face, features, how do you even pronounce this word?
Physiognomy.
Physiognomy, all right, a person's facial features or expression, especially when regarded as indicative of character or ethnic origin. Okay, and we don't go with how's it again? Physiognomy. We don't use physiognomy for pure ethnic origin. All right. It can, like I said, it can be it really doesn't tell anything at the end of the day. It can be an indicator, but it's really not a solid way to judge, you know, if someone's an Israelite or not. All right. We go through how they act. All right. But it says indicative of character, and their physiognomy is indicative of character. Their countenance is indicative of character. Now, again, even with countenance, all right, that's not the only thing you can go by. You can't just look at someone and see they look to be right and then just roll with it. All right, that's not how Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai would judge, as in 1 Samuel 16 and 7, and that's what we'll close out with. Because countenance, at the end of the day, it has telltale signs, but at the end of the day, someone could be a real good snake. Okay, so that's why you got to use other aspects. You can't just rely on one. You got to, you know, look at their countenance, look at how they weigh themselves, how they move. All right, how they, you know, a lot of different things, which also really goes into countenance as well. Okay, so it says expression, look, appearance, aspect. All right, you know, and so on and so forth. Their visage, all right. Says so yeah, that's pretty much what countenance is, but the etymology is better, all right, for what it is. Now, I do want to read a scripture, and then we'll continue on with the etymology. This is going to be a little short, like a little 10-minuter. And Ecclesiastes, a brother, I think it was one of the apostles, I think they got it the other day, and I screenshotted it because, you know, it spoke to me. And really, I screenshotted it because I was going to make this lesson, all right? And I didn't know I was going to make this lesson, but that's the real reason through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Ecclesiastes 19:29 reads, a man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance, when thou meetest him. Continuing on, it says, a man's attire and excessive laughter and gait show what he is.
Gait.
All right, it is gait. Show what he is, right? So, going back to it, if you had to look, and again, if you had to look at punk, right? Then you had to look at a mod, right? And you had to figure which one, you know, would you be more likely to be attacked by, right? And for the most part, punks, you know, some punks are not even all that violent, right? But some are, all right? There's different varieties of punks, right? But if you had to choose which one you were more likely to be attacked by, you know, just judging off their style, probably the punks, All right, you probably, they're more rambunctious. All right, more with the punk rock scene, not giving a shit, right? Now don't get it wrong, some of those mods, all right, could have been a little violent as well, but most of the time they weren't. All right, they were pretty boys and they were just doing their thing, all right. So that's an example of a man may be known by his look, right? So you might be known by your look. Again, if you jump to verse 30, like it says a man's attire. That's what we got was their attire. It says a man's attire and excessive laughter and gait show what he is. If he's, dressing like a fool, all right, laughing all the time, dressing like a thug, all right, for example, or a punk or whatever, and he's laughing all the time, and what is gait?
Gait.
The manner, a person's manner of walking, the way they walk, all right, show what he is. For example, if you had someone that was wearing, if you had a man, if you had a man that was wearing a coat like this, okay, and he had a cane, all right, and he had a big old top hat on and a gold tooth, all right, and he walked with a lean, what would that show him to be? All right, most of you should say that's a pimp. Yeah, you guy's more than likely a pimp. Okay, if you see someone out walking around and you don't have them, you don't really have old school pimps like this, but back in the day, if you saw someone, that's a pimp. Why? Because you can see the way he looks, the way he dresses. All right, he's probably gonna talk smooth. Hey, young blood, hey, come here for a minute. Yo, baby, let me speak to you for a minute. All right, it's like, what? What's going on? All right, hey, man, let me speak to you for a minute. He's got the gold tooth. You're like, man, this guy a fucking pimp. No one's walking around, on average base looking like this, talking like that. All right, no. So, you'd be able to tell because a man's attire, excessive laughter, and gait show what he is. So the way that he walks shows what he is. If someone's dressing with low-hanging pants and Jordans, all right, and a edge up, all right, that's sharper than a knife, all right, and on top of that, all right, he's got a what else? He's got a white T-shirt on, all right, and dreadlocks, all right, dreadlocks with the edge up on the sides. That's a YN, all right. He's gonna be dangerous, all right, and the way he talks, the way he he's gonna. That's a thug, okay. That's a thug, okay. If someone's walking around with a suit and a briefcase, that's a businessman, right? Someone's walking around with longer shorts on and a tank top and a basketball, that's a sport player, all right, specifically a basketball player, okay, and so on and so forth. And the same thing goes for women. When women are walking around with an ultra short skirt, all right, and their titties hanging out, that's a hoe, all right, that's a hoe, okay. You're wearing a hoe's uniform, all right. Let me go and get that. Just because I'm dressed this way, all right, let me show you this. Fair use.
And you with your buddies, right? You with your buddies, you got a couple drinks in you, and you see a girl, you might try to talk to her. This might not come out right. I don't know what you say, but damn, look at them titties. Right? The girl gets mad and says, oh, wait a minute. Just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a whore. Which is true. Gentlemen, that is true. Just because they dress a certain way doesn't mean they are a certain way. Don't ever forget it. But ladies, you must understand that is fucking confusing. It just is.
And I mean, in a way, they still are whores, but I know what he's talking about. Just because they dress that way doesn't mean they're going to give up the goods right away, right? And like he said, it's fucking confusing, right? Because there are some like that. I'm not gonna do that. So you're gonna dress like that, and you're not gonna put out? What the fuck? What are you doing? All right? Just because I dress this way, all right?
Now that would be like me, Dave Chappelle, the comedian, walking around the streets in a cop uniform. Somebody might run up on me. Oh, thank God. Officer, help us. Come on, they're over here. Help us. I'm like, oh, just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a police officer.
I always love that one. It was a little low. Lord willing, you can still hear it. If not, you can go and get any of the other ones. You can go and get one of these. All right, this one's probably louder. Probably should have played this one.
Have this happen? This is how confusing.
Yep. I think so. Let me see.
It is. This is the practical app. Got a club, bar, right?
Yep. You can go watch it. Lord willing, it was loud enough though. But if not, you can go and watch that one. Just because I am dressed this way. Right? Like he said, if you saw me, Dave Chappelle, the comedian, out walking the streets in a cop uniform, oh, thank God, officer. Just because I am dressed this way does not mean I'm a police officer. Right? That shows you, your countenance tells a lot about you. Okay? And like it says in the second part, it says, and one that hath understanding by his countenance, right? It says a man may be known by his looks. So that's the first part, all right? So, a police officer, you can tell. A post office man, you can tell, all right? If they work for UPS, you can tell, all right? If they work at Target, you can tell because they're known by their look, all right? If they're a whore, you can tell, all right? If they're a thug, you can tell. If they're a decent-looking person, you can tell, right? And one that hath understanding by his countenance. So you can tell a person if he really knows anything or not. All right, he or she can be, known by their countenance. Okay, because if they look like a fool, obviously their countenance is going to give that. They're not going to have a very good one. If they look like a fool, right? It says when thou meetest him. So the word countenance, all right, it says mid 13th century countenance or countenance. All right, it says behavior, their behaviors. That's another thing, their behavior. All right, their bearing, their conduct, their manners. All right, their manners. Hey, motherfucker. All right, yep. This person's, basically how do I want to say it? A ruffian, a hoodlum. All right, however you want to say it. All right, or if you have someone, hey, I got this and this and that. Oh, this guy's full of shit. All right. There's another one that's an old good stand-up by Dave Chappelle. He says, they're full of shit. All right. What's the other one? He's full of shit. It was like full of shit or the other one. There was another one. What was it? Stupid or full of shit? Yeah, there you go. That's the one. Here you go.
Advertising sells you things you don't need and
Fair use.
can't afford that are overpriced. Fears tits. Big tits. And full of shit, but in a nice way. Honest, corrupt, and full of shit, but in a nice way. Plenty of expensive drugs and perpedia. Advertising.
Let me see. Let's see.
Some people are really fucking stupid.
Here it is. All right.
Did you ever notice that? How many really stupid people you run into during the day? God damn, there's a lot of stupid bastards walking around. Carry a little pad and pencil with you. You wind up with 30 or 40 names by the end of the day. Look at it this way. Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that. And it doesn't take you very long to spot one of them, does it? Take you about 8 seconds.
Yep. This is talking about that. All you need to do is look at him, talk to him, and this guy's dumb as shit.
You'll be listening to some guy, you say, this guy is fucking stupid.
Yep.
Then there are some people, they're not stupid, they're full of shit. That doesn't take very long to spot either, does it? Take you about the same amount of time.
You'll be listening to some guy and say, well, he's fairly intelligent. Ah, he's full of shit.
There you go. Now, this guy made a lot of sense, and the reason he made a lot of sense is because he was Jake. All right, even the apostles will tell you that. All right, this guy George Carlin, he was a Jake. He was a Jake. That's why it makes a lot of sense. Edomites don't make sense. All right, they make confusion. It says so yeah, their behavior, bearing, conduct, manners. All right, early 14th century, outward appearance, looks. It's actually later than that because that's the biblical meaning of it. All right, well, the biblical meaning has a couple. It depends on scripture per context. You got to use it, go by the context that's talking about. It might mean their behavior. It might mean their appearance, right? Or one another thing, right? From Old English, demeanor, bearing, conduct. Right here, this is a good one from Latin, continentia. Restraint, abstemiousness. Let's look at this word. Practice of moderation or restraint. All right, especially in eating or drinking. Moderation, literally, the way one contains oneself, being able to contain yourself. The meaning evolved from Middle English from appearance to facial expression, betraying or expressing to a state of mind. Okay, so it can mean, the way you are or the way you look. Okay, the way you are, the way you look. Now, Isaiah 3:9, here's one that's really popular when you think of the word countenance. It says, the show of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. This is dealing with those homosexuals, all right? And again, you can look at them and be like, that guy's a homosexual, all right? Or, that girl's a homosexual. It's easier to tell with the guys, but sometimes with the women as well. And if you get that in the easy-to-read version here, it says, the look on their faces shows that they are guilty. They are like the people of Sodom. They don't care who sees their sin, but it will be very bad for them. They will get what they deserve. And according to the Bible, the biblical punishment for that act, all right, is death. All right, the act of sodomy is death. All right, homosexuality is death. Like it says, if a man that lays with another man, they have committed abomination. All right, their blood shall be upon them. Okay, which means death. All right, roughly paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, and then finally, to show you that you can't just always go by just the way they look, but it is a contributing factor. All right, to show how you are as a person. There are some people out there that look like thug and then they're a good person, and that's the same way as someone wearing that uniform. But man, you need to start dressing better. All right, because the way you dress makes you look foolish. All right, yeah, I know, brother, I know. All right. And in a way, they are foolish because they're dressing like that. They just have their head is in a semi-right place, but, the rest of the body needs to be fixed. So they're still in a sense of foolishness, okay? So 1 Samuel 16:7, and this is what it is at the end of the day. You can't always judge by that, but it does say a lot about you, okay? It does say a lot about you. It says, but the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. And that's why, the way we look isn't always 100% definitive, okay? Because you might have someone that holds themselves well, all right, and they look to be professional. For example, use the Edomites, all right? The people that are, higher up businessmen or elites, they're wearing suits. They look like well put together, normal, older people. All right, but again, you can't look on appearance because, again, like it says here, I have refused him. The Lord has refused these people. These people are, and that's not necessarily what it's talking about in this state, but the Lord has refused the Edomites as well, or in this state, in this scripture, but the Lord has refused the Edomites as well. But a lot of the Edomites, they look like regular people. All right, it's just a little old man. Yeah, it's a lot deeper than that. It's an evil ass old man that you wouldn't know is evil because you're too busy looking on his appearance. But still, that person, you can tell he has knowledge. I almost said wisdom, but not wisdom. They have knowledge, but it's according to wickedness. Okay, so you can tell they're put together. All right, but they're just put together in a left hand side. Okay. So you can still tell a lot, all right, just by a person like that. They're more discreet. Okay, that's one thing. The elite, they're getting sloppy now because we're at the end, but they're more discreet. All right, they don't put all their business out in the air. They used to not, but now they do. All right, because they've gotten so that's the pride. That's the pride. They want to show off before they do it because they've gotten to the point where they're comfortable enough to do it. They used to be more discreet, but now they can say, "Oh, we're gonna bomb, this and that," and then they'll go and do it, and people are like, "No, they didn't do it." It's like the whole Nord Stream pipeline when America said they were gonna do it with Biden, and then everyone said, "We don't know who did it." Well, Biden said he was gonna do it. All right, go and rewatch that video, man. All right. Or when Bill Gates said he was going to do population control with the sticky needle stick. All right. And people said that's not what he said. He did. He said if we do a real good job with vaccinations, all right, Asian, all right. So YouTube incorrectly picks up on the algorithm sometime. You know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Can't jump to conclusions. All right. Can't take a video down because you jumped to a conclusion. But he said we can get that number down. All right. And he was talking about overpopulation. So you're going to fix overpopulation with the sticky sticks? How so? That must mean they're going to kill people. All right. I'm not saying they are, but it must mean that, right? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm playing the system, but you already know our opinion on that. All right. But yeah, man. And so yeah, you can tell a lot by a person's countenance. So you can tell if they're, wise leaning or if they're foolish leaning. All right. Excessive talking, excessive laughter, right? As the scripture says, excessive laughter. All right. You can just tell a lot, man. You can tell a lot. So, and with that, you should be making sure, and earlier we got abstain from all appearances of evil. So you don't want to be walking out really looking like a thug. All right. Because, your countenance is people are going to look at you and think you are a thug. You might not be a thug. All right. You might not be. You might be a nice guy. But if you dress like that, they're going to think you're a thug. Right. So, don't do it. Right. But that's a little short lesson. We're going to close out there. Lord willing, it was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Shemi Hawa Shai, Shemrakakwa. Shalom, brothers and sisters out there. Keep it during. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here until next one. Lord willing.